KPBS On Demand is supported by UC San Diego's Art Power, presenting cellist Joshua Roman, performing from his album Immunity, alongside music by J.S. Bach and more, Sunday, June 22nd at UC San Diego's Epstein Family Amphitheater. Reserve your tickets at artpower.ucsd.edu.
So, it was the summer of 2014, and all of a sudden a swarm of police arrested Aaron Harvey outside Las Vegas. Aaron is a San Diego native, and he was charged as a test case of a law that had never been used before. It said someone could be charged with conspiracy for belonging to the same gang as other people who had carried out a series of gang shootings. A judge dismissed the charges against Aaron, but not before he spent 7 months in jail. Now he has graduated from UC Berkeley, and I've spent the last 3 years talking to him during that journey. I'm Claire Trageser, and you're listening to KPBS Investigates. Today, I'm bringing you the story of what Aaron has been through, mostly in his own words.
I remember sitting in jail and a Berkeley commercial came on. And I remember telling, his name is DeAndre Cooper. We were cellies on the same case. And I was like, if they ever let us out of here, I'm going to Berkeley. And everybody, you sound stupid,
This is Aaron Harvey in November 2018 during his Thanksgiving break from his first semester at UC Berkeley. I interviewed him in the midst of what would be a huge challenge for him, graduating from one of California's best universities.
Sometimes I feel like if I don't graduate from this school, I can never come back to San Diego. You know what I mean? Because it's just a lot of pressure, like I got to be on my midterm and flipped out, It's like, one, I've never gotten a B on anything. So I was like, that was very humbling. But then at the same time, I'm like, I hope this doesn't mess up my GPA because I have to have a high GPA because I got to go to Harvard, for law school. But I'm putting all this pressure. It's like, chill out. It's a midterm. It's a B. Like, relax.
The community in general kind of did place a lot of, I don't know if I want to say expectations, but kind of a burden of being successful on him fairly early on.
That's Khalid Alexander, a community leader who's known Harvey for a long time. He says Harvey's case, which so many people saw as unjustly putting him, plus rapper Brandon Duncan, in prison, made the expectations that much higher for a true redemption story.
There was a huge amount of community outpouring while they were actually in jail. And so you had the community was a part of this movement to have them released kind of from the very beginning. Once released, instead of the two of them kind of disappearing into obscurity and just kind of working on their own, or just being thankful enough to have been released, instead of that, they ended up, dedicating a large amount of their time to, not only be active in the community, but to be active voices calling for reform of the system or for addressing some of the wrongs that had happened. I think it's pretty clear that he would have been just as happy, if not happier, without all of the attention, being able to go back to school, go to Berkeley, get his degree, and decide to go in whatever direction that he wants to. So that's why I say it's unfair. I think it's unfair anytime a community puts their hopes on any one individual. I think it's an enormous amount of pressure and responsibility that you didn't necessarily ask for.
There's a lot of good things that came out of that case, and a lot of people's lives changed for the better, and we got legislation passed, and a lot of good things have come, but at the expense of my life though at the same time, you know? So it's like, yeah, it's great that we got all these things, but that kind of like ruined my like life as well, you know? So it's almost like, so it's almost the same thing with like Berkeley now.
This was over Thanksgiving break, and Harvey said in some ways it was difficult for him to be around his old neighborhood. He felt everyone he saw was putting pressure on him.
But now they're like, oh, so when you gonna start law school? And I'm like, I'm only halfway done with my first year. You guys are already talking to me about law school? Like, this is like, okay. Now I gotta, get to law school. I don't think I've ever really said this before, but of course, I care about social justice, and I pretty much dedicated my whole life to it, right? But people ask me like, well, what do you want to do? And study law, but to be honest, yeah, of course I'm gonna study law, but really, like, I'm doing all of this. Like, there was a guy on our case. His name is Justin Anderson. He's doing life on our case. And he's like my brother, We grew up 6 houses down the street from each other. And like, I'm becoming an attorney to get him out of jail. Like, I'm not, like, people will benefit from the things that I'm doing, but those are like the side effects of it. My goal is to get him out of, like, we don't have the money to get him out of jail. Like, I'm going to get him out of jail. And then after I do that, I might not want to study law anymore.
I talked to Harvey again during his winter break, and I could tell his college experience was taking a huge mental toll. He showed up looking tired, looking thin, and you could hear the exhaustion in his voice.
4 or 5 weeks ago, I'm ready to drop out, right? So it was tough. I got through it, but again, I don't feel like it was tough necessarily like academically, in the sense that I didn't understand the information, but there's a language that you have to decode. You have to like demystify a lot of things up there that I wasn't necessarily aware of going up there. I'm just thinking, go to class, read, study, turn in your paper. But like building relationships with professors, building relationships with the grad students who actually grade your papers, the professors don't even.
Yeah.
I'm like, nobody told me this. Like, why am I still talking to this professor and he knows nothing about my work that I'm turning in? I just need him for a letter of recommendation. Like, oh, okay. Like, this is how all of this works. And it sounds so simple, but it's very complex for a person who doesn't know. And then just the nervousness of, like, in a sense, right? Like, going to jail is easy. I could physically do that. But you ask me to go talk to a professor during office hours, and I'm about to have a panic attack.
He kind of became a representative of the community in general. And so as such, and unfairly, his success was tied up in what people, I think, felt was their own success. And similarly, his failure, I think, was connected and tied up in what, the larger community would see as their own failure.
Again, Khalid Alexander.
He also, as an individual, I think, can represent kind of what it's like to be Black in this country, what it's like to be an African American in this country, where you do have to work harder. If you do mess up, there's going to be more attention.
Harvey remembers people who've left his neighborhood in Southeast San Diego before. They went to college or law school, and when they came back, they talked differently and dressed differently. He resolved to not do that, but it's challenging.
I call it like code switching, I guess. So when people like still feel like, okay, he's still the same person, he's just doing other things, it kind of like motivates them to like, okay, well, I can still do this too. I've had professors tell me, okay, we need to use more academic language. And I challenged her, well, like, who set the standard for what's academic language, right? Like, so you want me to speak white? I told her one of her articles, I said, I felt like you wasted my time. This article was trash, right? And she said, well, why was it trash? And then I critiqued it, which, isn't that why we're in these academic settings, is to, analyze and critique? So she says, well, I'm going to need you to have a more critical analysis on this article, on these articles when we're discussing in class. And I said, oh, what are you meaning? Like, you just don't like the way I'm talking about it? Yes, I need you to speak more academically, right? And I told her no. And then what does that even mean? Define that, right? Who set the standard for what is, the correct way of speaking? Did you understand what I said? Yes. Okay. Well, then that's how we're going to communicate.
I talked to Harvey again at the end of his first year, and he was much more confident in his abilities at Berkeley and was already thinking about what he'd do when he graduated.
I want to go to Ivy League school. I want to just shoot for the moon. So Harvard's, Yale's, Columbia's, NYU's. If I stay in California, of course I'll apply to Berkeley, like Stanford, Davis, UCLA. I'd like to stay in California, but definitely, like, honestly, I'll go whoever accept me. But I'm gonna apply to probably like the top 10, 15 law schools.
But he was also still thinking about his mental health. Because Harvey was arrested suddenly in a police raid and spent time in prison for gang crimes he had nothing to do with, he has traumatic memories.
Yeah, I'm super paranoid too, as well. I'm always, who is that? Like, why is that person looking over here? Like, I'm always thinking that somebody's the police or somebody is, taking pictures, or just, I don't know, like, I'm always just like super, crowded, and then like crowded, loud spaces. That's like the perfect recipe for like a panic attack, Or even when you're having these like episodes of like panic attacks and anxiety attacks, certain kind of like brain tricks to kind of so they won't really either last as long or be as intense kind of things. I think that was more like my second semester. It's really, I almost feel like I put myself in a position for these kind of episodes to happen because of what I'm choosing to study, right? And then I'm at Berkeley, where it's just home of everything political. So like staying off social media, right, and not really reading these crazy stories or leaving the news alone. Like don't torture yourself more than what you're being assigned is automatically doing anyway.
Okay, we gotta take a short break. But when we come back, we talk to Harvey just after graduating from Berkeley. I have him listen to some of our interview clips throughout his journey, and he reflects on all that's happened.
KPBS On Demand is supported by Splatero, helping homeowners pay off debt or for home improvements by offering streamlined access to your home's equity with no additional monthly payments or new debt. Splatero provides a lump sum payment in exchange for a share of your home's future value. Learn more at splatero.com.
Okay, we're back. So 2 years and one pandemic later, Harvey graduated with a degree in political science.
So what's up?
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
I talked to him again, this time at an outdoor park with ducks around us instead of a studio. Also, he told me his plans have changed.
I think I figured out law school wasn't for me like my first year at Cal. Because the more and more I started digging into the law, working with attorneys, dealing with cases and things like that, they're still finding ways to just incarcerate people. So it's like, I'm not saying that was wasted energy. I don't feel that way, but that's not good enough. Like that wasn't good enough. There's laws get created for us, laws get created against us, and they're still doing, you know what I mean? I feel like, and then being an attorney, it boxes you in. Like, you know, I'm dealing with the law, and if the laws are immoral, then it doesn't matter.
Now he wants to work in real estate and do development jobs that would hire people with felony records.
What can I provide poor people to kind of minimize the risk they're willing to take that's going to put them in prison? I think that's where I'm at. Yeah, I'm going to disappoint a lot of people, but...
Well, what I was going to ask is, do you have this pressure to... You know, it's like, oh, you did this. Now what's next? What are you going to do?
Yeah, no. Because people are like, yeah, so what's next? What's next? What's next? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I just want to go to sleep. It's been a lot. It's been a long 7 years. Like, and I am exhausted. I'm tired. But I'm like excited too, because now I feel like I can do what I want to do. And I'm not like beholden to a school schedule. But I don't know. I feel like I could just be way more impactful outside of the law. And I think that's where I'm going. So like the pressure is there, but I don't let it dictate or consume me. I did in the beginning when I was first starting to do all of this, but I think I'm in a position now, and I'm older, right? To where it's almost like I've given it my all, and like, okay, like what more do you want from me? And like, where are the pressures coming from? Like, who are these people? You know what I mean? Like, if someone very close and dear to you has an opinion, it means a lot more than just kind of like somebody far on the outset.
But he's not really just lying around. He's working with a nonprofit, helping people who've been to prison write college essays and do their applications.
We have 100% acceptance rate into the UCs. I think my acceptance rate into Berkeley is like 87% right now. So I'm like telling people, like, if you go through my program, I guarantee you'll get into a UC.
I played for him a few of his old clips about applying to only Ivy League law schools, about having a panic attack over the B on his midterm, and he laughed.
So one, I was like, wow, I don't think I was...
Did you remember that?
Yes. I feel none of that anymore. And I think it's... Yeah, one, therapy, right? Man, a whole lot of that, right? And just like, bro, you're a human. You know what I mean? Just you're human, and you're trying, and it's either gonna happen or it's not.
Oftentimes we have expectations for this one individual to make us feel better about an entire system. And, you know, thousands and thousands of people who are in the same situation.
Again, Khaled Alexander.
And while we should definitely celebrate Aaron's success and certainly be proud of all of the accomplishments that he should make. That certainly shouldn't happen at the expense of us recognizing that people like Aaron are kind of the exceptions who were able to be successful in spite of the system and not because of the system. And all of the people who, are continuing to fight cases today or who have already lost their case and doing serious amount of time on gang enhancements, I think is big.
Now, Harvey does seem lighter, less exhausted, less weighed down, and with some of the ease and carefreeness you'd expect a brand new college graduate to have. He has a young daughter and plans to move out of San Diego for a time, but says he'll eventually be back to buy a house and raise his family here.
Like, my moods are changing. I'm just starting to feel a lot lighter on my feet, more energy, and now that is really giving me the clarity on how or what I'm going to do. So I know. And again, it was guilt and everything else. I was trying to take care of everything else, and I wasn't taking care of myself. And now I'm like, I got to take care of myself.
This KPBS Investigates episode was reported and written by me, Claire Trageser. Emily Jankowski is the director of sound design. Kinsee Morlan is podcast coordinator. This episode was edited by Megan Burke. Lisa Morissette is operations manager, and John Decker is the interim associate general manager of content. Stay tuned for more episodes of KPBS Investigates right here in your podcast feed. And thanks for listening.
KPBS On Demand is supported by Splatero, helping homeowners pay off debt or for home improvements by offering streamlined access to your home's equity with no additional monthly payments or new debt. Splatero provides a lump sum payment in exchange for a share of your home's future value. Learn more at splatero.com.